June 2023. And clerk, call roll, please.
Commissioner Abraham? Commissioner Barber?
I'm here.
I'm
here.
Today we have to have the ceremony with things that are best for all. We can play our first responders, be with the law enforcement officers, the fighters, the ambulance workers, jail workers. Pray. Amen.
All right, join me in the pledge of allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to its republic for which is one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So we saw our flags on the house, Tom. Did you notice? What? Okay. You must have. They're all one. We had here. So Flag Day. Coming up. So the consent agenda.
Second.
Observe that the Sarah amount of $20,000 Boulder County bills and payable June 20 cents per pay.
So that carries. Then on the discussion, we have the LGEA and CRA public hearing. Who's going to present that?
We have two public hearings this evening required before and this is to expend funds in fiscal year 23-24 coming up July 1. The first one is a public hearing for local government economic assistance. This is a modest dab of cash we get from the state that comes from coal severance. I think our total in fund right now is $350,000. The only planned expense we have from that so far is that's how we will pay for Sprocket in the coming year. This is a public hearing. If anyone in the community is here to give any comment about how we use those funds, now would be the time for them to speak.
Anybody here for the LGEA public hearing? I invite you to come forward and say what you have to say. Nobody? All right. And
the next public hearing is for county road aid. We will receive approximately $1.5 million in county road aid. It also does not include, I don't think there's a plan for municipal road aid, but we get funds for that as well. We will be using in equipment in the fiscal year. If there's anybody here to speak to that.
All right. About your county road public hearing. All right. Conservation presentation. Good evening, Judge Commissioners. With conservation, we got the grant fund for our like we do every year, and it's sitting in our bank account. As soon as y'all send the necessary paperwork over, we'll ask for the money over, like every year. Okay. And our tree giveaway was very successful, and
Delaware, we've moved it to the extension service parking lot, and with the county, we lower it. And it's not the bus, and it's on the use side, but I'll get service provided as well. So that's my questions.
Anything?
Appreciate your service, Wayne.
Well, I've completed our, we're required by law to have one meeting a year with you guys, so I've completed it, and I appreciate you guys getting me on the agenda, and y'all have a good evening. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Wayne. Appreciate it. So, are you going to stick around and us shoot some ball?
Well, I will see if I can find my neighbor. On standby for us too.
Wayne was star player at Lone Oak in '72.
You're right.
I've set the bench in '72 for Tillman. Well, maybe not, but
In '72, Tillman did win, but '73 won.
Was Rick Walter on your team?
Rick didn't play after the junior year.
I got you. Okay.
And we didn't lose to Lone Oak too much. I was there. I'm just throwing
But
that out.
did you play basketball too?
Yes, sir.
I knew football, but I didn't know.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I think you got to look.
I did.
Google me up.
The center and
But nobody knew.
Oh,
yeah. Kidding Wayne, we're gonna have a slam contest at the meeting. We don't have a point to go back. Last man standing. So anyway, let's see. Hazard mitigation, public hearing, Rachel Foley.
My name is Rachel Foley with the Prairie Development District, and we have worked a couple years on McCracken County's hazard mitigation plan with their mitigation team to the region mitigation plan. The plan is updated every 5 years, and it allows McCracken County to be eligible for hazard mitigation grant money when a disaster is declared in the state of Kentucky. So I'm here today as a requirement of FEMA to allow community members to have the opportunity to provide feedback on the McCracken County draft. To you guys, I have passed out a public hearing notice as well as the Cliff Notes version because it's a 100-page document, so that's the main parts there. But the full draft is available on the Purchase Area Development District website. You can click on the website and select McCracken County, and each county has a opportunity to provide feedback. Even if you think the plan is fine the way that it is and that all mitigation measures have been taken into consideration, we ask that you at least still comment on the fact that you've read the draft and that you approve it, because it is a requirement of FEMA to have a certain amount of community involvement. So if there aren't any questions, then that concludes my report.
Any questions? No? All right.
All right,
Well,
thank you.
Appreciate it. See, I didn't see Bruce. We've got Bruce down for quarterly update. Was he coming, do we know? Bruce Wilcox? I didn't recall. I thought he just gave a quarterly update. He hadn't
Yeah, a
given.
week or two ago, a meeting or two ago, didn't he?
I thought he did just about 2 meetings ago, but well, anyway. If we have it, we'll get it next time then. Maybe he's just trying a little bit. Come back to him. Some discussion, I don't know if it's added on your document. We need to have some discussion about our quake insurance coverage for the coming year, FY24. And we've got, let's see, did we get that information packets? Yeah. So, let me see what's, the rate's gone way up. Let me see where that is here. Let's see.
It's gone up to $105,000. That's a 30% increase.
can, well, I may have pulled mine out, and put it somewhere else, but, yeah, okay. Let's see it here now. Yeah, there it is. So we bought it last year at, let's see, $5 million coverage, deductible for 1%, which would be $50,000. The premium was $78,000, about almost $79,000 this year for the same coverage, same deductible. The premium $105,000. He said that's about 30% increase.
Yeah.
So I was talking to Mr. Doolittle whether we want to do that at that cost, or whether we need to at least have some discussion. Don't necessarily need to decide tonight. This could be an initial discussion and give it some thought, come back on the 26th, or maybe we can decide tonight. But he and I were sort of of the mind that that's a lot of money for a premium for $5 million in coverage. Whether we could decide some money throughout the year. Do you want to address part of this, Steve? Or?
This started, I don't know, approximately 2 years ago. Dropped from our and ran out and got separate. Reasons sort of having time is the premiums have gone up and the coverages have gone down. In our last CAICO appraisal report, our plant was 80 million, something like that. I think as cost. So something really catastrophic happened here. $5 million wouldn't go very far to address that problem. Some other options, you know, and with our agent, I was like, well, FEMA's in and covers what insurance. I'm saying the $5 million catastrophic happened here. That we would just be insuring the first $5 million, and FEMA would come in after that. And the answer is maybe, possibly, that'd be the situation you would find yourself in. So we're bringing it to you tonight for your additional guidance. Another thing, and I was meant to get with Clint all day, but it's, well, maybe we just say we'll take a dramatically higher deductible to try to manage the premium at that number or smaller, and say I'll take the first. What if we said we'll take a $500,000 deductible or $1 million deductible? What does that do to both my coverage and my rate? And I don't even know if that's possible. So what we typically do in our other insurances is we manipulate the deductibles to manage the premium, or we forego it altogether. Or the third option would be we take the premium amount and we start our own little self-insurance fund with it.
I think a couple things. Number one, I think the fact that FEMA will pay if we have an earthquake, you know, we're just paying for something we'll get that we really don't need. Anyway, I know this came up, like homeowners had the same dilemma 4 years ago. The earthquake insurance just went through the roof. In fact, the regular insurance. And we told Lenny, and I was correct, if you have an earthquake and you're on fire, you're covered by your insurance because there's a fire. If you just have an earthquake and there's no fire, you're covered. But if you have an earthquake and catches on fire, it's covered by your regular homeowner's insurance, actually the same property. And earthquake case. All the time there is a fire when you have an earthquake because there's gas lines and other things that take place. And I think you're right, $5 million, if we have an earthquake, $5 million is going to be a drop in the, or it'll be less than that because of the deductible, but $5 million is a drop in the bucket for all the damage we probably have. And again, I think since FEMA will cover it, I really don't think we need to. If you want to put some money aside, that's fine.
I really don't think at this point, with only $5 million in coverage, that we could even really call it catastrophic. It would be, you know, we get something in the 7 range on the Richter scale, and we get structural damage to the jail or to the courthouse, and it's several $1 million to address that. Because, like I said, our total plant is about $80 million. That would be, you know, lose everything, lose every building you have. So it wouldn't come close to touching that. And so we've seen this deductibles going up, premium costs increasing, and coverage shrinking.
So is there a certain amount of money as far as destruction it has to hit before FEMA kicks in?
Yeah, we experienced that during the tornado as to how much public damage there had to be before they stepped in. And because remember, all of our debris removal and all that was covered by FEMA, and that was measured in hundreds of thousands of dollars. I can't remember if it was 200,000 or 300,000, but it was in that range.
And the reason I bring that up, I remember there was several years ago, there was a tornado over Illinois. I forget what small town here, and most folks is like, you know, this is horrible. You know, we're going to get some relief, but FEMA was like, didn't quite meet that threshold, and that was pretty disheartening. So I just wanted to make sure if we're dependent on FEMA to kick in, then let's make sure that we don't get caught like those good folks.
I think if we have an earthquake, it'll hit the threshold.
We just had one last week. You feel it? I mean, that's roll the dice. Since we're talking about it, I mean, you know, I guess that's what insurance is for. And I get it. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money.
For not a lot of coverage.
Without a lot of
You have
coverage.
to pay about $1 million to cover $80 million.
If that curve is linear,
Right.
yes.
So we can,
after 27 years of doing this, I don't know that we've kind of wiggled into a place where I'm not sure it quite makes sense anymore. It used to be rather, even when it got dropped from our other property coverage, it wasn't terribly expensive. I have this memory of the first policy we bought was $30,000.
Did they give you a reason for the high increase?
Hurricanes.
What's a hurricane have to do
We've
with
seen
that?
this before when we get increases, is that CAECO, like lots of insurers, they have stop loss insurance with other major national insurance companies, and so as the national insurance market moves due to loss, it affects everybody, not just the people in those areas. It's part of the beauty of the system too, is it spreads it out to make it affordable for everybody. But the excuse given was it's been the volatility in the insurance markets in the last couple of years, because we saw a spike over last year too. I don't remember what it was, but we almost had this conversation with you last year that this is on the wrong curve. All of our other insurances have remained remarkably stable, or at least the rest of the things on our CAECO All Lines fund.
any other discussion about it? You want to, I mean, we can decide tonight, we can sleep on it for a couple of weeks, bring it back, and let's say our current coverage
Would expire at the end of the month. So
Yeah, so it expires the day after our next meeting.
if,
No, no, that's not right.
I think July 1 is on the form.
Oh, okay. It's not on this one. Oh, I see, yeah. Well, that says July 1, 2022.
That was last year's. The other
The next
sheet is
page.
identical. Yeah, there you go.
Oh, okay, yeah. So we've got, we can wait till the next meeting if we want, or we can decide now.
Or if you want, I
I'm
can
ready to
ask
decide
Clint
now.
to say, what does $500,000 and $1 million deductible look like?
What is, I'm sorry, what was the deductible now?
150 or no 50,000. It's 1%.
Yeah,
That would be interesting.
I mean, we just approved our hazardous mitigation plan, and earthquakes are on that for FEMA coverage, so I'm ready now if others are.
Well, I know we're not the only people trying to make this decision. We've made this decision as a law firm, and we decided that we're old enough, we're going to try and outlive the risk, I guess, but because it just got so pricey. I would be interested in knowing the price with a higher deductible.
I think that's reasonable.
all right. So I don't, do you want to, is there a motion to either?
If they want more information,
Okay.
I'm ready to.
All right. So we'll just move it to the next meeting and get the information as to higher deductible and decide then.
Yes.
Everybody good with that? All right. That's what we'll do. All right, item 5, tabled from previous meetings.
We have a motion to untable it.
So moved.
Is there a second to remove those from the table? No second. We're still not going to pay these bills. So we got an interlocal agreement that we pay the bills. We've tussled back and forth with the airport about it. You know, my personal position is we've fought this. We did not win. I think that we did have a good argument, but we didn't win on it. We're obligated to pay the bills for terminal invoices.
Have we had any communication from the airport official of what they decided? Have they contacted you about that? Or sent you
Well,
anything?
just that they didn't agree to.
Did they send us anything to tell us that, or do they? Or
I don't know.
are we
Did
going
we
by
get-
what we heard on the news media?
I can't recall, frankly.
Well, Commissioner Jones and I met with them twice, and they said they would get back with us and report, and they have not gotten back with us. So I assume the news media is correct in what they decided, but we don't know why they decided what they decided. And I think they have an obligation to come do that to us. And I also would argue that the interlocal agreement stated that we would pay any amount that was due after federal, state, and other grants were received. They received some more state grants, and they didn't allocate any of that toward the airport, toward the terminal project. So I think there's a argument that they didn't live up to their end of the agreement either. But I would hope, I want to hear what they have to say about the decision they made.
Well, we're having some discussion. I'll second the motion to remove it from the table, but so that gets it off the table to have this discussion that we're already kind of in the middle of. But
Well, I just, the $3 million that we during the interlocal agreement, we put $3 million in, the city put $3 million in, and I don't think there was anything in the paperwork within that interlocal agreement that said anything about, well, if you guys get a windfall of money, we would want that $3 million back.
We're not asking for it to come back. We're just telling that for their reimbursement for the expenses they've had. We're not asking for any money to be returned to us.
But that's the way it's being portrayed. It's being portrayed like that $3 million that we gave y'all. Now that you have an excess amount of funding, we want reimbursements for that.
No, we're not asking for that. That's not what we're asking.
What are we asking for?
They're asking, they've already paid these bills at the
Okay.
airport, and they want us to reimburse them for it. We haven't given them any money for these invoices yet. So we're not asking for them to give us any money back.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, that's all. I mean, we're not asking for them to return any money.
So in the interlocal agreement that the fiscal court agreed to, was there any stipulation about what we're talking about now?
There was a provision in there, and I don't have it in front of me right now, but there's a provision in there that said the amount could be less if they received additional federal and state grant money. They received additional state grant money, and they did not allocate any of that toward the terminal. So I would contend that you could argue that they didn't live up to their end of the agreement either.
Well, you guys, the wording is important in those documents. It could be less. It could not be less. I mean, when we talked about having a couple of our commissioners go and sit down at the table and talk to Barker Regional Board, and we were going to make the argument. And my comment was in that open meeting was, well, what if they say no? What are we going to do at that point?
We don't know if they said no because they haven't communicated with us.
Well, I'm pretty sure most folks understood the fact that they're like, no, we're going to use it. And my point, my thought is this: we gave that money for Barclay Regional for the expansion of the terminal, and we can go back and forth with this thing, or, in my opinion, we can look at it. Look, okay, if Barclay Regional Airport is successful in what their mission is, then McCracken County and the citizens in McCracken County are going to be just as successful. Now we can go back and forth and have meetings and write letters and do all this other stuff, but I don't want the court to come across as adversarial with our partners in this community that we have to work with on a regular basis. This is not New York. When we go to Kroger, we see these people. They see other folks. So I feel like we talked about it. We met with the folks. There's been interviews. There's been all of this other stuff. So I'm in favor of moving forward with this, pay the bills, and move on. Or we cannot, and we'll just keep doing what we're doing.
So I agree with you that 2 weeks ago, whatever coverage it is, probably in part because of poor words that I chose, it became more of a cash back argument that was really just that was a way for me to communicate it easier and faster to a group. It was once we actually got to the meeting, the setup is this. There was a preliminary meeting. I think you and Steve had a preliminary meeting, and there was some hope out of that with the airport. That was followed up with another meeting between Commissioner Bartleman and I and two members of the airport board and the airport director, which we drove out there, spent 3 hours that day at the airport, and there was a great deal of hope, and I think I even came to our last meeting and reported, hey, sounded kind of hopeful. In fact, we kind of reduced it to a formula, and frankly, I was led to believe that we were going to go to that meeting and we were going to kind of set up a negotiation team. Nobody told me the otherwise. Nobody told me that the city was suddenly, silently, or secretly on the other side of this issue, no longer cared about the extra million they could get. And so we get in there, and I'm giving this presentation, and it's pretty clear. I think we're going in to have a friendly conversation, and it's pretty clear I've been asked to give a closing argument to a jury who's already made up their mind. And I think they've already made up their mind in part because they got some legal conclusions that were, I think they were wrong. I don't know. It's hard to know because they got to go in executive session. We don't get to do that. I don't know why they got to, but they got to. I don't know, but I suspect that they were told this document right here, which is the legislation which allocated $5.3 million, that they had to do what they were told and what they did do. And as a lawyer, that unsettles me. And I guess my request tonight is that this body ask Gabe Foster to read these papers. Only one document, page 26. And give this community a legal opinion as to whether the 5.3 billion funds that the Kentucky legislature, through the actions of at least 51 representatives and 19 senators and one governor, whether that restricted this 5.3 to particular projects, or did it just restrict that 5.3 generally to airport improvement? Because if it did just generally restrict it to airport improvement, then there is another bucket that the airport could seek reimbursement of these funds from. Ultimately, I mean, I've read the interlocal agreement. That's the one document that WPSD decided to put on the internet, so everybody has had an opportunity to read the interlocal agreement. They've not had an opportunity to read this. It's not an exciting read. But I would admit to you, looking back in time, if we could rewrite that interlocal agreement, we could write it a little stronger from our standpoint. I wish it were stronger. I think it was intended to say the things that County Judge Craig Clymer feels that it should have said, and the spirit of it, and that Commissioner Bartleman said. As a lawyer, I will concede it doesn't say it quite as strong as I want it to. But at some point, it feels like the public officials at the city and the county should communicate with the public officials at their subsidiary airport and say, come on, we're all on the same team. Our ultimate goal here is for the taxpayers. And so I take this caution. I'm not trying to be an obstructionist, but I feel like I've been elected to try and give the best government service for the cheapest price to the taxpayer. And I don't think, while I'm getting close to the end, on behalf of the taxpayers, I want to give it a little more time to ask the airport to submit at least a portion of these bills to the state. That $5.3 million will become available on July 1 of 2023. And I think a portion of these bills should be to that bucket, or that sovereign, if you will, for payment. And so that's justification for my position tonight.
Well, there's another aspect of it too, though, is that, I appoint some of the members of the airport board, the mayor appoints some, and I think maybe this body ratifies the appointments. I don't recall now. But anyway, we have a hand in, if not appointing all the board members of the airport, majority. I don't know. Steve, do we know? Appoint all of the members? I can't recall. It might be city and county government appoint all members of the airport board, but I just don't recall. But anyway, so the point is, we put these volunteers on the airport board to do what's best, really, for the airport. we didn't have the foresight to, or in retrospect, everything's 2020, as they say. Now we can look at it and see what happened and know that we could have had stronger language, that we didn't anticipate what, I mean, we know with 98% certainty what happened was a state official went to the airport board and said, is there some other use you would have for this money? And that way they could get, well, it was for fuel tanks. It was for runway improvement, and there was another.
The sewer.
Sewer. And so the airport board looks at it and says, so if we use that money for runway improvement, fuel tanks, and sewer, then the city and the county are obligated to pay up to $3 million each to the airport. So the airport board, I think, did what the airport board done for the benefit of that one facility, the airport. In doing so, they diverted from what we would like for them to do as the city and the county to keep us from having to throw up to $3 million each, city and county each, into that for the term. And so where do we fall on that? Airport board, we wanted you to represent the airport, but when it comes in conflict with what the city and the county want, we want you to do what the city and the county want, and you would short the airport by the difference.
I think that is a great question. So if I were, I think the question is, what do we want the airport board to mean? If I were on the airport board, what would I feel my obligation to do? And the first thing I think is I got to get the law right. I've got to know is what I'm being told the truth or not. And frankly, I just don't know. They went in executive session, and I think they first I have to know that they were told an opinion that is at least plausible and accurate. I know I have an opinion, but I may be wrong. I doubt it, but I might. That these funds could be used, and we base that because we talked to the folks at the state, not just a complete guess. The second thing I think they should do is go through the projects that the senator from Marshall County identified, and say, all right, are we really going to do these, and are we really going to need this money for these projects? And I will say that I've gone back to look at the runway, and that's an important project. We ought to do that. I sat with Dennis, Airport Dennis, as I call him, in D.C., in one of the D.C. Sessions in which they told us of additional federal grants for aviation fuel storage tanks. So I think I would want to look to see, hey, can I find other federal money? Maybe I won't need $1.2 million of local dollars for that, and so we'll only need X amount for that. See if that's plausible or not. And then I would ask them to look at the existing invoices and see if any of them apply to the sewer work, the sewer design, because $2.25 million of that was for sewer. And we kind of jumped past it because the four of us know that since we committed this $6 million, or this $3 million, and the city $3 million, the airport was awarded another $7 million, which included $4.25 million for a sewer, which the sewer extension is only going to cost $2 million. Now that's just the pipe from our sewer facility to the airport. But when I look at what the senator from Marshall County wrote about sewer, it does not just limit it to the sewer line from our sewer plant to the airport, but it looks like it also includes any sewer work on the airport proper. So I think we could look at the invoices and say, well, what about these invoices and do they fit in this bucket? So that's the analysis I would ask the airport board to do. And then once that's done, then we'll be done.
I've got an email that I received from Mark Carter, who is the head of the aviation for the state. And in the email, he said it was up to the airport board to decide how that money was to be used. It was not specified in the bill. It's up to the board. And that's what he said in this email, and that's what Commissioner Jones and I were told when we met with the Transportation Secretary, Mr. Carter, and others in Frankfurt. We were told that. Also, even if you think that they're required, even if there was something in there that required them to use it for the projects, they do not need the money for the sewers because another grant was received to pay for that. A grant that some of us helped work on to make sure that we got that. And that was $1.7 million. And that was part of the reason why Commissioner Jones and I were adamant that that money that was allocated for the sewers that's being paid twice should be reallocated for the terminal. That was the reason that one of the reasons that we put that argument. But I would like for the airport board to communicate with us and tell us what they decided and why they decided it. They may come in here and tell us the reason for the decision, and we might say, well, you're right, let's move on. But we don't know that because they haven't had the courtesy to communicate with us when we communicated with them on several occasions.
Or a public meeting.
Yeah.
I think the judge made an interesting assessment. That board, I'm pretty sure, was joint with the judge and the mayor, and those citizens that serve on that board, we entrusted them to look out for the best interests of the airport. And my approach of it, okay, we trust you guys to look out the best interests of the airport. And in essence, again, Barkley Regional Airport, if it's successful, then the county is successful. Now, here's the thing. We can micromanage those guys, looking over their shoulder, looking at every T and every I dotted. If that's the way we want to do things, then we're going to be hard-pressed to find folks to serve on these boards that are important. And again, I mean, this is one of those situations where we can make sure there's plenty of print about it, plenty of TV coverage on it. To what end?
Well, I don't care if there's TV coverage or not, and frankly, God bless the TV for trying to get it right. This is a complicated story, and I sympathize with them. It's hard to get it right. And I don't know if they've gotten it right yet, but it's hard to get right. I get that. But Commissioner Abraham, I'll tell you, I've been practicing law for 33 years, and I know when I've come out of a hearing whether I got a fair shake and whether the issue was properly debated or not. And I'm just going to tell you, I didn't leave that meeting with the feeling that the issue I was there to present was adequately debated or briefed or prepped, in part because I wasn't allowed to stay into the discussion. So I don't know. I mean, I honestly, I don't. Maybe they're allowed to go into executive session. I don't know. I know I wasn't allowed in the room, so I don't know whether they were told how I feel about this statute, whether they were told something different. That wasn't something that could then be debated publicly as to who was right or not. And that really got shut down into going in through the invoices that might fit in the various buckets. So I can't tell you, as a representative of the taxpayer funds, that meeting that I left there was a meeting. I'm not saying anybody did anything wrong. They're volunteers. They I don't know that they're supposed to spend 4 hours in prep before they get there. But we were not advised of that type of presentation, and so therefore the presentation was short, and it just wasn't the issue didn't get a fair shake in my view.
Well, we had our perspective of trying to save ourselves up to $3 million and save the city up to $3 million. Their perspective was, how can we get the most for the airport? And so it's two very divergent viewpoints. And when they had a state senator tell them, hey, is there anything else you might want to use this money for? Like little kid, some little kid at Christmas time, anything else you might want for Christmas?
The trike.
Yeah, maybe I can come up with something. And so they said, when you're approached by a state senator, says, why don't we look at putting this $5.3 million toward runway and sewer and fuel containers, and then you still get your up to $3 million from the city and the county. I think there's a good argument to say they did just exactly what they should do. So I don't know that I would blame the airport board for doing exactly what they did.
I'm not, well, I'm certainly not, I get their positions. I think they at least ought to be told, we ought to be able to agree on what the law is, and we ought to be able to agree on a certain set of facts, and we ought to be able to know that the issue got debated. And I don't feel like it got debated yet. And, I'm frustrated. I mean, I was thinking about this meeting, and I know we've been talking along. Nobody wants us, there's a ball game on later tonight. We all want to get home to see, I guess. But, if you look back to January 19th, you were a brand new county judge. Elaine Chao was the Secretary of Transportation. Donald Trump was president. And a guy named Todd Inman was Elaine's deputy. And a guy named Kevin Neal, who went to high school with Todd Inman in Marshall County, was the county judge and the chairman of PACRO. And it became very clear that while the city and the county and the chamber all wanted a new airport terminal, there was no path. There was nobody driving that path. And in your first State of the County address, you said we're going to make it a priority. And you did. And ironically, a couple months later, you appointed a guy named George Bray, who was the chairman of the airport board, to PACRO. And PACRO, on that same meeting, funded the first $80,000 to get the whole thing steamrolled. And then George ran for mayor. But so it's frustrating that now, after it feels like the county judge getting this ball rolling, now it looks like your court is playing hardball. And I guess we are. But I also know that I sat in this very room and I made the very difficult decision to raise taxes. And I remember a guy sitting on the back right asking me, tell me again why you got to raise taxes. And included in the reason why I had to vote to raise taxes was I wanted our county to be ready to fund an airport match. And he accepted that. And I remember that vote. It wasn't a fun vote, but it put us, it got us unbroke and in a position where we could do this. But I'm not done yet trying to make it cost the taxpayers less. It may not work, but I'd like more time. That's my vote.
And let me just wrap up my points with the fact that, if we, I guess two things really, if we go on this route, who blinks next? What's the next step? So what if the airport board says, well, we think we did what we should do. We got the maximum benefit to the airport, to the terminal. And so we're comfortable with that. And so then what happens to these bills? And then I guess the last point be that, if that airport comes up in a year or two or 15 years from now and has a need that they can't find the funding for, I think it's going to be, won't be me in 15 years, but it'll be this body and the city that will step up and meet that need. And so it's more of maybe a delay or shifting focus for a period of time, because there's certainly no disagreement as to the importance of the airport and the importance of getting that terminal built. And when you got as much money as the federal government put into that to get the thing built, I just feel like we fought this battle. We didn't get the result that we wanted, and it's time to cash in and go on to other things. And I just don't know how this thing is going to get resolved at all. I mean, as far as I can't recall getting a written notice. I know I've talked to Jay Matheny, Steve Doolittle and I met, like I say, preliminarily with Jay. I'm a good friend with one of the board members. I've spoken with him. I know the result, but we didn't get any formal notice. But then I didn't ask either because it was clear. I wouldn't want this decision to turn on the fact that they didn't tell us. I think we know what happened. We don't know what the discussions were, just like you say. And while we got it all out here on the table and spilling it all out, there was, I think, some heartburn perhaps from the city saying after the request was denied by the airport, the city taking the position publicly that, well, we didn't agree with the county that they should have done otherwise. However, even though they didn't agree with what we were trying to do, they damn sure would have taken that $3 million.
Yeah, tell them tomorrow night they can pay all their money.
So that was, that was,
like I say, one last thing. Number one, I hope one day soon we'll all be here trying to figure out how we can come up with to convince somebody or we can get on a plane from Paducah, Kentucky and get off in Gulf Shores, Alabama or Destin, Alabama. I mean, I think that's the ultimate goal, and I think we're on that path. I really do. I think this terminal is key to that, and I think the runway is key to that. I've been a proponent of airport growth. You have been, and it sounds like we all are. But and I'm just going to estimate, when we took office, this county owed about $21 million. At the time we signed those promissory notes to borrow $3 million, we owed $18 million. It took us 4 years of taxpayers making their payments to build $3 million worth of equity that we then took a line of equity again and borrowed and put into the airport. So we're not talking, sometimes you feel like, well, it's just government money. But we're talking about all the equity that we established through the first term of our office. And that's what we're trying to talk about, how we can make that the lease. So.
I'll make one last comment too, I promise. Number one, we're not trying to micromanage the airport board. We have one issue, and the airport board members, they do a lot of hard work and make a lot of tough decisions, but they don't need to make a decision on how to use our $3 million because it's still our money, it's not their money. Another point is that the federal government, through some of the COVID funding, is putting $5 billion a year for 5 years into airport projects. And the projects that they're designated to be funded with the state money are exactly the type of projects that the money from the federal government will fund. I was in a meeting in Denver of the National Association of County Officials and met with the transportation officials who handled these grants. Obviously, they couldn't make any commitments, but from the 10,000-foot view, when I explained to them what they were doing, they said they should be ones that would get attention when the grants come around over the next couple of years. If they allocate this money and earmark it for their runway expansion and the other things, that will preclude them from receiving federal grants because they already have the money to do those. So as to what happens next, I'd like for them to come to our next meeting and tell us publicly that about the decision they made and explain it to us and ask some questions. And after that, I'll be ready to make a decision on how we move forward.
How do y'all feel about asking the county attorney to do an opinion, give an opinion on whether the state funds are restricted or not? How do you feel about it?
I'm certainly willing to do that, Commissioner. I think the issue, I suppose at first the question is the fear that the airport board was advised that because of the legislation, it was restricted to other projects. Is that the fear?
My concern is that the airport board was told, listen, Eddie and Bill are good guys, but we can't legally do what they're asking us to do, so you need to say no.
Okay.
I think it might. I don't know. I wasn't in the room.
Yeah.
But to be honest with you, I really feel like, for the 100 of us that care about this issue, we've got 2 lawyers on this board, and I think there are 2 lawyers on the airport board, and then they have their own legal counsel. Mm-hmm. It would be nice to, one way or the other, have an opinion as to whether these funds how these funds are restricted.
Okay.
And
I'd be glad to do that, Commissioner. To the judge's point, though, I think we're ultimately still going to get to the point where hypothetically they can use it on the terminal project. Do they have to? And
I think you're right.
So are we hoping that the opinion would give them perhaps a change of heart and they'd feel like, oh, they can use it on this project?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that at least if they could go back and look and say, well, Jones is right. Some of these were sewer, and, at least we could do them on sewer, and, apparently Jones is right. Maybe we can negotiate some of these things. I at least want them to know us to all operate. Every case I've ever tried, at the end of the case, there is a judge who says, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to tell you the law. Mm-hmm. And this case didn't get that. I don't know what the legal jury instructions were at the end of the case, and I don't like it. It bothers me.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, we could also just, we're talking about it, we could ask them, did they believe that they had to use it for the terminal, or did they believe it could be used for other purposes?
Well, they have to use it for the terminal. There's no question of that. I mean, it's restricted to the airport. They can't decide to use it for 911 towers. The question is whether they could use it for these reimbursements that are perhaps outside of the list that was given to the senator from Marshall County, or not.
I'm just saying, if the legal opinion is that it whichever way the legal opinion goes, if they said, well, we didn't consider that, we just were told we get more money if we do what we do, if we do what we ultimately did.
It seems like the legal opinion's easier, but
well, I don't know.
Less phone calls and less meetings.
Since they're represented by counsel, I could reach out to their counsel as your counsel and report back to y'all. We could have a...
I'm pretty careful. You don't work for me. You work for the county, and so I'm just one of four people on this board. I would like to know your opinion on whether that statute...
And if you want to do that, I'll forward you the emails I have and the documents they sent me to show how this money can be spent as a starting point for you. Okay. I'll get those emails to you the next day or so.
Okay. All right. Well, let's go that route then.
All right.
So we've got these are off the table. We've got to, I think I perhaps know how the vote's going to go. So we've not had a motion to approve these. Did you want to make a motion to approve the payment of these and then
it's only been moved to move it off the table. It hasn't even been voted on to move off the table completely.
It hasn't been one.
Y'all haven't voted to move it off the table to make a motion on it. Y'all are still discussing.
Oh, no, that's right. There was just a motion and a second. No, we never voted to move them off the table, did we? So,
But it was a fruitful discussion.
so there's a motion and a second, all in favor of removing them from the table. Aye.
Removing it from the table, aye.
I'll say aye. So we've got 2 nays, 2 noes.
I vote against, yes.
I vote no.
Okay. So that does not carry. They remain on the table then. We'll wait for a legal opinion and go from there then. I wonder, do we know if the city's paid their part? It'd be interesting to see if they're going to wait further.
Why would they wait? It's their support.
But anyway, interesting, but not necessary to know, I guess. All right, so on to court orders, 6A.
It is hereby ordered that pursuant to KRS Chapter 68.005, the McCracken County Administrative Code has been reviewed and hereby adopted by the majority of the McCracken Court at its held meeting on June 12, 2023.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That carries. B.
It is ordered that Roy Roberts be hired as part-time certified court security officer at a rate of $12.35 per hour effective June 13th, 2023.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That carries. C.
It is ordered that bid openings were held at 10 a.m. on May 24th, 2023 at the McCracken County Courthouse for bituminous asphalt paving for the period of July 1st, 2023 through June 30th, 2024. One bid was received, that being from Jim Smith Contracting, and that was taken under advisement.
So move.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That carries. D.
It is ordered that the bid for bituminous asphalt paving for the period of July 1st, 2023 through June 30th, 2024 be awarded to Jim Smith Contracting.
So move.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That carries. E.
It is ordered that bid openings were held at 10 a.m. on May 24th, 2023 at the McCracken County Courthouse for stone for the period of July 1st, 2023 through June 30th, 2024. One bid was received, that being Vulcan Materials, and was taken under advisement.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That carries. F.
It is ordered that the bid for stone for the period of July 1st, 2023 through June 30th, 2024 be awarded to Vulcan Materials.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That carries.
It is ordered bid openings were held at 10 a.m. on May 24th, 2023 at the McCracken County Courthouse for delivered fuel for the period of July 1st, 2023 through June 30th, 2024. One bid was received, that being from JSC Terminal, LLC, DBA Midwest Terminal, and was taken under advisement.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That carries. H.
It is ordered that the bid for delivered fuel for the period of July 1st, 2023 through June 30th, 2024 be awarded to JSC Terminal, LLC, DBA Midwest Terminal.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That carries. Aye.
Item I was removed
Oh, that's
from
right.
the,
Yeah. We're not,
so we're moving on to
they remove that from the agenda. We'll put it back on 26, assuming that discussion's ready. J.
It is hereby ordered that the attached plan, including both the scope of work for the selective interior demolition project for this grandstand structure and adjacent building, be approved as part of the scope of the work for the athletic complex. The fiscal court's consent is required by Section 1.5A and B of the Interlocal Cooperation Agreement for the development of the Paducah-McCracken County Athletic Complex.
Motion?
So move.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Would this involve just cleaning up the inside? Is that basically what it is?
So we're not spending money.
Yeah, we're spending money.
But in this order, are we spending money?
No, this is just for the scope of work.
Okay.
Or Stevie's ready to answer any questions.
Well, how much money will we spend once we decide to do this scope?
This is just the bid package. It'll go out to bid, and once we get those bids in, we'll have to come back to the fiscal court.
Gotcha.
But this is selective demolition, so they can do a 3D model to betterly get some as-built drawings for future improvements.
So this will identify what needs to be demolished inside? Or?
It's the interior demolition, you're basically taking everything down to the bare bones. That way they can do a 3D model and actually have as-built plans for reconstruction in the future.
I know is there still a lot of junk in there, a lot of computers? And all that stuff?
No, not really. A lot of that's been cleaned out, but it's the hanging ceilings, it's just, ductwork, it's all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
Thank you, Steve.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That carries.
It is hereby ordered that Judge Executive is authorized to enter a contract with Bacon Farmer Workman Engineering and Testing Incorporated in the amount of $72,600 for master planning services at Carson Park.
So moved.
Second.
It's exciting.
Enlighten us.
Judge, Commission, it's good to be here.
Sir.
Deputy Judge has a handout for you, the update on the project timeline for the project. With this, we're still keeping the 8-month, but on the original submittal, which was a few months ago, we had 3 months go past since, so we're back to, at this point, March of, a completion of March of 24 on this.
It's great. It's great that we're to this point.
We're excited, and unfortunately, Megan had family obligations, and so she had to move on. So,
just for our 18 viewers, you're describing a project in which we're going to do what?
yes, we are going to be doing the master plan update for Carson Park and all of its facilities. We're going to first develop a project management plan with the staff and with you all as far as telling us what you think we need to look at, establish milestones that we're going to go for, and then go through that. We'll study the conditions of the facilities. We'll have community engagement opportunities. Then we'll go to concept planning, where we go in-house and start drawing and doing the magic there, and then come up with a project list and create, as we go down, what can be done year 1, year 2, year 3, and how much those estimates will be at that point. And then at the end, you'll have a package that you can use as a roadmap. That's what the deliverables are. They're the roadmap that you can follow to upgrade Carson Park for the next 10 years.
Cool. Thanks.
Anything else? All right. Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, no. That carries.
The Judge Executive is authorized to enter into an agreement with Construction Safety Consultants Incorporated for safety services and drug screening for the McCracken County Road Department at unit prices and hourly rates in accordance with the agreement for the fiscal year 2023-2024. Further, the Judge Executive is authorized to execute any documents necessary to enter into said agreement with CSC.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, no. That carries.
It is ordered that the treasurer is authorized to pay the Carson Center the amount of $2,000 for sponsorship of the 2023 Juneteenth celebration.
So our order says McCracken County NAACP.
It was corrected because that is going to Carson Center.
I got you.
Yeah, we got an invoice from the Carson Center. They're going to handle the money, I guess, whatever's to be paid to the NAACP, if there is some, be paid by the Carson Center.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Do we need to amend that to say the Carson Center? Or
Yeah, well, I mean, we just.
She read the order.
okay.
Yeah. Okay, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That carries.
It is ordered to approve the May transit room tax in the amount of $484,329.94 to be dispersed as follows. Paducah CVB, $143,046.97. Convention Center, $96,618.27. Sports Tourism Commission, $146,800.33. Escrow Fund, $97,864.37.
So move.
Second. I think that sets a new record.
Does it?
I say it does.
It's up there.
146,000.
Yeah, those numbers will continually grow.
That's the quilted show, I'm assuming. What do you think?
Okay, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no.
Can I ask a question? What's the status of the roof repair on the escrow money will go for?
They're not meant to.
Pardon me?
I'll find out.
Okay.
Did we get that vote done?
Yeah, we
Yes.
approved it.
Is it? Okay. Q, or O.
It is ordered to pay the invoice dated May 25th, 2023 to PFGW for the Sports Complex project in the amount of $46,773.70. This is pursuant to the interlocal cooperation agreement dated September 7th between City of Paducah, Kentucky, the County of McCracken County, Kentucky, and the Sports Tourism Commission. As per the interlocal agreement, the City of Paducah pays half of the invoice to McCracken County. Further, the treasurer is authorized to transfer $23,386.85 from the general fund to the Sports Complex Project Fund.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That carries.
The annual standing order be approved for the pre-approval of recurring expenses for utilities, telephone, payroll, debt service, and employee health benefits bills for fiscal year 2023-2024.
So moved.
Second?
Any discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That carries. Q.
It is ordered to pay the invoices listed below to Barkley Regional Airport Authority for new terminal expenses in the amount of $348,012.66. This amount is one half of the total invoices of $696,025.32 and is pursuant to the interlocal cooperation agreement dated August 28, 2021 between the City of Paducah, Kentucky, the City of McCracken County, Kentucky, and the Barkley Regional Airport Authority. Invoice MCFC 052423 dated 5/24/2023, $26,823. Invoice MCFC 052523 dated 5/25/2023, $164,787.39. Invoice MCFC 053023 dated 5/30/2023, $3,958.18. Invoice MCFC 053023 dated 5/30/2023, $152,444.09.
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second? I'll second it.
I move we place these items on the table.
Second?
I won't restate all my previous reasons. Just say ditto.
Well, we've got a motion to approve it. We've got 2 votes no on approving the invoices, to pay the invoices.
I think before we vote on it, we made a motion to table.
I think procedurally, the motion to table was seconded. There's a vote first. I think. I don't know myself.
Is that right?
But I think so.
Because the motion to table was part of the discussion, so now that is what's on the table.
So the motion to table by Mr. Jones, and you seconded that. Okay. Any discussion about the motion to table other than what we've had previously? All in favor of tabling?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
No, me. So, tabling then does not carry. So it's 2-2.
So it dies.
Yeah. So we're back to voting on,
So it basically stays on the table.
Stays on
Yeah.
the table.
no,
No, it's not. It's on the table today.
It's on the table. It's to be voted on now.
yeah. Well, it's not, on the table
It
means
is
it's
an
not
active
to be.
motion to be voted on. There we go.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, so all in favor of paying the invoices? Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Abraham and I are in agreement to paying. Those opposed?
I am opposed.
No, I oppose.
Should have slammed you. All right, so that does not carry. So that fails. All right, item 7, board appointment.
No, we're on R. We had some orders that were added.
Oh, that's right. That's why it says in red letters down here, add late order.
February 22nd, 2022, the treasurer is authorized to transfer $1,378.16 from the payroll bank account to the general bank account in order to keep the payroll account balance under the $20,000 threshold.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That carries.
It is ordered to approve and record the storage fee report for the McCracken County Clerk's Office for May 2023.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That carries.
It is ordered to approve and record the county clerk's report of ad valorem tax distributions of $820,008.75 for the month of May 2023.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That carries.
It is ordered to approve and record the county clerk's report of deed tax distributions of $34,224.22 for the month of May 2023.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That carries.
It is ordered to approve and record the county clerk's report of delinquent tax collections and distributions for the month of May in the amount of $316,571.84.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? So that's saying we had 300, in the month of May, there was $316,000 in delinquent taxes.
Yes, sir. Because the county attorney letters went out, and so we had a lot of people come in and pay.
That's total collected, that's not what comes to the county.
No.
It gets dispersed. And
We get 10% of that.
The
Yeah.
the report's in y'all's packet if you want to see the breakdown.
And those carried a penalty with them? Who gets the penalty?
County attorney gets it, the clerk gets it, and there's also interest.
Yeah.
Some of that goes to the sheriff as well.
Yeah.
Gordon?
See, don't think did we vote on that?
No.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That carries.
It is hereby ordered that Peyton Ski's position of full-time victims advocate in the McCracken County Attorney's Office will no longer be administered through payroll, which is reimbursed under VOCA federal grants to McCracken County Fiscal Court effective May 31st, 2023. Therefore, her employment with McCracken County Fiscal Court will terminate as well, effective May 31st, 2023. She has no time accumulated.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That carries.
It is ordered that Dakota Russian be hired as full-time deputy jailer effective June 19th, 2023 at a rate of $16 per hour, less statutory deductions, all of which are subject to further order of the court.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That carries.
It is ordered that Michael Huff resign his position as part-time certified court security officer effective June 7th, 2023.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, aye. Opposed, no. That carries.
It is ordered to appoint Jeff Parker to the Carson Park Board to a term ending June 30th, 2025.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That carries.
It is ordered to reappoint Tom Paget to the Convention Center Board to a term ending June 30th, 2026.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That carries.
It is ordered to reappoint Chris Hill to the Convention Center Board to a term ending June 30th, 2026.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That carries.
It is hereby ordered that pursuant to KRS Chapter 67, the second reading and adoption of ordinance number 2023-09 shall be conducted in summary format as follows. Commonwealth of Kentucky, McCracken County Fiscal Court, ordinance number 2023-09, an ordinance amending ordinance number 2018-004 by amending the definitions of net income and net fees and expanding the scope of permissible checks drawn from the Sheriff's Office fee account. Summary. The action effectuated in the present ordinance is authorized by Kentucky Attorney General Opinion 74-01 and 81-303 and Kentucky Revised Statute Section 67.080 and 67.083. This ordinance amends ordinance number 2018-004 by changing the definitions of net income and net fees by accepting certain transmittals from their meaning and by expanding the scope of permissible checks that may be drawn by the Sheriff's Office out of their fee account. Certification. It is hereby certified by the McCracken Court that the present summary represents an accurate official statement of the main points of and contents of ordinance number 2023-09. Public inspection. Ordinance number 2023-09 shall be available for public inspection in its whole and complete form in the McCracken County Judge Executive's office during ordinary business hours.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That carries.
It is hereby ordered that pursuant to KRS Chapter 67, the first reading of ordinance number 2023-11 shall be conducted in summary format as follows. McCracken County, Kentucky, McCracken County Fiscal Court. An ordinance amending McCracken County Ordinance number 2022-02 by revising the proposed fiscal year 2023 operating budget by modifications and receipts for car tax, truck license, state prisoners, state medical payments, sheriff fees, and transient room tax in strict compliance with the mandates of Kentucky Revised Statutes Chapter 68. Summary. The present ordinance revising Ordinance 2022-02, McCracken County proposed fiscal year 2022-2023 operating budget pertaining to a modification in receipts from car tax, truck license, state prisoners, state medical payments, sheriff fees, and transient room tax. Certification is hereby certified by the McCracken County Fiscal Court that the present summary represents an accurate official statements of and the main points of and contents of ordinance number 2023-11. Public inspection. Ordinance number 2023-11 shall be available for public inspection in its whole and complete form in the McCracken County Judge Executive's office during ordinary business hours.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, so this is the first reading, so we're approving that as a first reading. All in favor, aye.
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 Opposed, no.
This shows we've had a pretty healthy year, doesn't it? I mean, it's very positive, the adjustments are being made.
See?
Pursuant to KRS Chapter 67, the first reading of ordinance number 2023-10 shall be conducted in summary format as follows. McCracken County, Kentucky, McCracken County Fiscal Court, ordinance number 2023-10, an ordinance setting and establishing the proposed fiscal year 2023-2024 operating budget for the funding of all McCracken County governmental operations prepared in strict compliance with the mandates of Kentucky Revised Statutes Chapter 68. Summary. The action taken by the present ordinance is required by Kentucky Revised Statutes Chapter 68 and is carried out in strict compliance with the same. After detailed investigation by the McCracken County Fiscal Court into each separate activity of the county and necessary funding requirements for the provision of the same, a proposed county budget is now prepared and submitted for approval of the Fiscal Court with expenditure allocated budget units as classified below. 01 General Fund, General government, $5,944,750. Protection of persons and property, $1,301,522. General health and sanitation, $495,787. Social services, $55,000. Recreation and culture, $2,309,850. Airports, $86,466. Bus services, none. General services, $1,311,839. Contingent appropriations, $500,000. Fringe benefits, employer share, $1,950,000, $1,950,730 for a total of $13,955,944. 02 road fund. Roads, $3,730,627. Capital projects, $68,322. General services, $2,000. Fringe benefits, employee share, $725,235 for a total of $4,526,184. 03 jail fund. Protection to persons and property, $6,610,427. General services, $4,000. Fringe benefits, employees share, $2,591,847 for a total of $9,206,274. 04 local government economic assistance fund, social services, $372,500. Contingent appropriations, $100,000. Total, $472,500. 05 state grant funds, social services, $552,546. Federal grant funds for social services, $145,000. 14 sports complex project, recreation and culture, $26,450,000. 18 sheriff's fund, general government, $4,692,899. General services, $2,000. Fringe benefits, employer share, $2,540,785 for a total of $7,235,684. 27 economic assistance fund, general government, $400,000. Contingent appropriations, $100,000 for a total of $500,000. 29 juvenile justice fund, protection to persons and property, $35,000. Contingent appropriations, $10,000. Total, $45,000. 78 transient room tax distribution, recreation and culture, $3,641,698. Other county liabilities, $655,872. Contingent appropriation, $255,177 for a total of $4,552,747. 79 county clerk permanent storage fees, general government, $182,834. 88 opioid settlements, contingent appropriations, $45,000. 99 debt service fund, bonds courthouse, $238,974. Tax anticipation notes, $0. Other county liabilities, $2,346,029. General services, $1,250. Contingent appropriations, $1,740,448 for a total of $4,326,701. Grand total all funds, $72,196,414. Certification is hereby certified by the McCracken County Fiscal Court that the present summary represents an accurate and official statement of the contents of ordinance number 2023-10. Public inspection, ordinance number 2023-10 shall be made available for public inspection in its whole and complete form in the McCracken County Judge Executive's office during ordinary business hours.
So move.
Second. Good work.
Discussion?
How does that, how does the recreation and culture, how does that break down? Because in the general fund, it's, there's a price there. And under sports complex project, there's a recreation and culture. And then over, number 78, transit room tax distribution. There's a recreation and culture. How does that break down?
So the summary you see is mandated by DLG, and we we collect certain account numbers that go in to feed that. We almost never internally talk about these categories this way, or you'll see, many of the funds have something called general services. I couldn't even tell you what general services are, because when you go into the actual fund, we have dozens of accounts. It's just the way the state requires us to summarize them for the publication of the budget. What is really much more operative is the detail that looks like this, that Pam attached to it. But in brief, in the general fund, that's drawing from, I believe, two categories. It's drawing from the entire budget for Carson Park, and it's also drawing from another category of combination of budget accounts which are in Carson Park that are called county recreation or county park improvements. So when you add all those up in combination, it adds up to the $2 million and change. The transit room tax one, that's derived because it goes to Sports Tourism Commission. Right. That's that sole one. And then, of course, the big one, you notice the $26 million one, that is the sports park budget.
All right, thank you.
Which had not been reflected in our budget before. That's a first.
Right. So,
and will probably be permanent from here on out.
Right. For those kind of keeping score, comparing to other budgets in categories 1, 2, and 3, the total, then doesn't that really tell you the size of county government? The other, everything after 3 are projects that are happening right now.
Right. So our operating funds really is the general fund. That's Fund 1. Fund 2 is Road Department. Jail is Fund 3, and Sheriff is Fund 18. So when you look at how county government is operating, those are the 4 to pay attention to.
Well, I'm hesitant to say the things that excite me and then find out they're wrong, but I'll go forth. We by law have a balanced budget, and there's no deficit spending in our budget.
There's no deficit spending.
We've given the employees a healthy COLA raise of 6%.
Correct.
We've got, and this is new, we've got in budget, which means in planning, we haven't spent it yet, but in planning, $870,000 that we've designated, that we've got out there, wanting to partner with the parents in Reedland, Heath, Lone Oak, and the soccer parents, the existing soccer facilities, because we feel, this budget says we feel, those facilities need improvement. This is in addition to the sports tourism project. That's exciting to me. So parents in those categories, we're ready to partner. We're ready to partner this construction season, I think is what this budget says. Same with Carson Park, over $1 million in anticipation of improvements to Carson Park. Sheriff got all of his technology upgrades and requests because they were all reasonable and necessary and good for due process. The jail got all of its capital improvements requests for the care of its facilities. So I just want to compliment everybody on a budget well done.
I want to echo Commissioner Jones up to the staff did an excellent job of putting the budget together. I think there was really good communication, and I think everything that was the concern of the members of the fiscal court, the commissioner, and the judge, I think, got in this budget. I think anyway, it was just really a real good job. I've got one question, a couple questions. The money that's allocated for Carson Park construction, that's in anticipation of the recommendations of the study that we just approved. Is that correct?
It's really ambitious when you look at Mark's schedule. We're going to get done in March. And
right.
So it's probably not realistic
that we will. Realistic, that money will probably be carried over to another year.
Probably.
Likely.
In all likelihood.
It's going to be hard to spend that money. And again, I echo Commissioner Jones on the renovation and funds for the parks in the 3 communities. I think that's good to put that in one fund and let those agencies come to us and make sales pitches for what they need to be done. I think there's plenty of money in to be able to do that. The money that's in there for data processing, it was $324,000 this year. I think it reached $675 next year. That's to buy new equipment and upgrade the. Is that correct? Now, that's not a fee for services.
No.
That's the money that will also be used to buy new equipment.
That's
Is that right?
largely equipment.
Right. And are you going to do it countywide, do everything at once, which I think is a good idea rather than.
Well, it's the way it has to work.
Right.
We have what I describe as a backbone to our network. We made some improvements this year, but this finishes off all in one fell swoop. A lot of older equipment that lacks upgrade path and lacks capacity, so it builds reliability and speed into our system and makes us more secure.
Is there any salvage value of the old material?
No, we have to pay to have it hauled off.
Okay. I have another question. Account number 5080-571, renewals and repairs. There was $125,000 this year. It's going up to $416 next year. What does that cover?
So in budget workshop, unspecified, I included, I think, $250,000 for various courthouse improvements. Okay. Like you look in this room, this is mid-90s vintage carpet. Of course, this would be an AOC project in this room, or some shared expense with the county since we use this room as well. So again, that might be really ambitious to think that we have enough capacity to do everything in 1 year, but we have some projects around here that have been delayed and delayed and delayed because, as you know, the first several years you were here, we were in a deficit situation.
So, we are no longer in deficit. For 2 years in a row. Right.
So like in the sheriff's office, for example, we have about $45,000 in delayed costs for painting and carpeting and reusing their space more efficiently.
Okay. And then under the road construction that we have in the road department, is it the 1.2 million? Is that the amount?
That's just blacked out.
That's what we're getting from the state, or
yep.
Is there?
That's 100% covered by the state.
Do we need
Gasoline
to add?
tax.
I mean, as we go on through the year, will we need to add anything to that to do other projects that need to be done? I know there's millions of dollars worth of paving that needs to be done, but will we have an opportunity, anything to add to that?
In speaking with Randy, as we finish up the Milton Road project, and you haven't seen that, it's worth going out and driving and looking at that one section in Lone Oak. That's 95% complete. I think we lack 68,000, something like that. That'll be done any time now. It's time to go back and find our next project, go to Frankfurt. We got $500,000 for that project, and I think we spent a little under $500,000
right.
on that project.
And then the money for new equipment, that was for a new road grader, is that what
that
it was
is money allocated for the grade all.
Right.
That is our primary tool for ditch cleaning, brush removal, setting pipes. It is the thing we use most, and it's I think I said in my memo, last one we bought was about 20 years ago. So that's about the cycle.
What's the delivery time on that? Is that are they readily available?
So Randy says they're available. It's like we've had supply chain issues with other things. A truck you bought 2 years ago showed up last year.
Yeah.
So we believe we will get it in this fiscal year.
Another thing that's disappointing in the budget is the amount of money that we increase in the medical services and the routine medical for the jail. That's up $200,000 for spending $1 million, and we still need to try to lobby the federal government to change the laws to allow Medicare, Medicaid, and insurance to pay some of those. And that's the questions I have. But again, I echo what Commissioner Jones said. I think the staff did an excellent job of putting this together, and we know it's a lot of work and a lot of numbers. And I think we're really
tremendous
serving the
amount of
county
work
well
for
this
the
time,
treasurer.
And we're going to keep in mind they're full capacity pretty much every hour, every day, and then to take this on and compile all of that. And I know Pam and Steve worked together extensively on getting all that done, and it made it easier for us to then, they got it shaped where it needed to be, then we had relatively few policy decisions about. So that's what happens when you got good team members. They can get it done.
Agreed.
Technology in the sheriff's office, I'm really glad we could do that too, and they recommended that. I think that's really a major plus for safety, and if it helps just one incident to have all that technology, it's well worth the money.
This, we talked about this. This would put body cams on everybody.
Yes. All the floors, and we have some for security as well, sir. And this will allow us to have unlimited storage.
And then does everybody get the laser?
In-car. So the in-car will be patrol for the patrol units, and then are you referencing
The shotgun. Instead of a bullet, you shoot.
Oh, the tasers?
Tasers, I'm sorry,
Yes.
that's a laser.
You said shotgun. You don't hunt much.
I don't
do
mean
you?
shotgun, I mean, that thing,
We received the 36 tasers on the grant, and this will allow us to obtain additional 15 so that we can outfit everybody, including court security, with the updated tasers. And it'll be on a contract, so if they break, we'll just send them back and they'll send us new ones. So.
How often do your deputies have to use tasers? Is it once a month, once a week, twice a year?
The threat of the use quite a bit higher than the actual use. When people see with the new ones, the two lasers, they typically do what's needed.
They understand their command then when you
Right.
do that, right?
It fluctuates a few times a month. Our deputies they're pretty good at de-escalating situations and be able to talk to people and not have to use that force. So
That's where that good training comes in.
yes, sir, absolutely. And the use of it, and the the foundation has purchased the virtual reality. We're waiting on that, and that'll help the de-escalation and the training of that quite a bit as well. Be able to integrate the tasers and different things in there.
What do those things cost a piece?
The tasers?
Yeah.
Close to 2,000.
2,000.
About 500-600. Yeah.
What's that?
The sidearm of the Glock costs about 500-600.
Yeah.
They like tasers, unfortunately, but
That
they're a good
22-inch
tool
piece
to
of
have.
hickory that we used back in the day, that's like $6.
Or you get them free, you just go cut it.
And they last a lifetime.
Sir.
Thanks. All right, thank you. Any other discussion? So we need to approve the first reading, a motion to approve the first reading of the budget.
We got our motion, our second, we just need a vote.
Oh, okay. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, no. That carries. All right. And so we'll have it back to second reading on the 26th. What was our deadline? July 1? July 1.
So we'll go to DLG probably this evening. So they'll have the first thing in the morning. We need to hear from them between now and the 26th.
Okay. We're down to executive session, aren't we?
Yes.
We don't have anything for executive session, right? All right. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, no. That carries.
We're doing
All right.